Thank you all very much for being here and staying for the very last presentation. I know it's been a long day. So let me entertain you. Welcome to Switzerland. Maybe a couple of words about me as a founder of the company. I'm one of two co-founders of the company. And my background is in banking. I used to work for UBS and Barclays and consult large banks. But 10 years ago, I fell into the rabbit hole of crypto, discovered Bitcoin, started to invest in 2013, and from there is no way back. So later on in 2017, we founded Smart Valor, and today it's the only digital asset exchange on Nasdaq in Europe. So in one way, we are absolutely unique. We made it happen. The reason we made it happen is because, crypto is said to be a little bit gray, not playing by the rules and all of these things, right? So being a Nasdaq-listed company and, doing everything right sets you apart. So maybe a couple of words why this matters and why you're here, why this is relevant for you, and why this is a great industry. So first of all, market capitalization of digital assets reached $3 trillion just last year. Now it's a bit down to 1.5 trillion, but just to help you to understand, is it big? Is it what is this, right? Let's compare it quickly with Nasdaq First North, right? So market capitalization here of all the companies is 37 billion. Crypto is 1.4 trillion, right? So multiple 38 times. The trading volume, the turnover on Nasdaq First North is around 70 million a day, right? In crypto, we have around 30 billion a day. So just to understand this, what Nasdaq First North trades in 2 years, right? This is what happens in 1 day in crypto, right? So it is a huge industry, right? It's so big. And if you ask how many companies or projects are listed on Nasdaq First North, we have 630. And in crypto, we have 25,260 companies and projects, right? And if you ask yourself, what is this? What are those companies doing, right? What are those cryptocurrencies, right? Has nothing to do with currencies. Those are technology companies and technology projects. It's just they decide not to go to Nasdaq. They decide to issue digital assets as a participation in their companies and be traded on those digital asset exchanges, such as Smart Valor. So that's kind of where are we here? So basically, if you want to see it this way, what is our product? Our product is the same as Avanza or Nordnet, right? People come, bring their fiat there, and start to trade, right? Buy and sell different companies. So this is what we do. It's just we don't have the shares and we don't have bonds. We have only digital assets, right? So those participations in tech companies, specifically from blockchain space, and on. So that's kind of what we do. And maybe you heard that last year was absolute disaster for digital assets. It was so bad. I've been in this industry for 10 years. I've never experienced anything like this. Everything was disaster. Like tech, there was a stable coin experiment, Luna, crashed, burned, billions lost, terrible disaster. There are hacks, there are leveraged companies and just fraud. One of the largest exchanges, FTX, American exchange, went bust and took with them $4 billion of people money, really crazy. We've never had anything like this in crypto. So it's just fraud, right? And it was rolling through the whole system. Dozens of companies went bust, right? Really bad. Plus, we had this macroeconomic cycle turning, the war in Ukraine and downturn of, capital markets. plus the Bitcoin halving cycle. Bitcoin went from 70,000 down to 15,000, like really bad. But we all know that those things come and go. Maybe just a couple of background what this means for us as an exchange. Of course, people are disappointed with all the stuff that's going on. Price is going down. People start to trade less. So the transaction volume on Smart Valor was down 35% in 2022. We outperformed the market in the way that, you know, on the overall euro market, the trading volumes went down 50%. So we were kind of like better than the market. Well, it helps a bit, you know, because it helps to still keep going and be motivated. And for the team, it's important to be better than the market. But, you know, we also now see the turning point, right? So yesterday we published our Q1 report, and you see that in Q4, the trading volumes went down to 12 million. This is all in Swiss franc, by the way. And then in Q1, we kind of like, we started like, we hope this is a turning point and we are getting out of there. And the trading volume are already up 60%. Hopefully the remainder of the year will not disappoint us. Well, the good thing is, like, despite this trouble, we still managed to grow our retail customer numbers. So they're continuously growing now, the second year in a row, by 32% in 2022. That's good. So we are still working on it. But what is more important, you know, like where people trade, like this is our retail business, right? Just people buy and sell digital assets, right? But what is more important is that this infrastructure is actually needed by literally every trading platform or neobank, right? There are a lot of big examples like, you know, Revolut, eToro. All of those banks, they try to adopt digital assets, right? And what we do, we give the technology to the banks and fintechs. We offer our exchange as a white label solution, right? So they just integrate through API, and then their customers see exchange, trading interface, everything as if it's theirs, right? So it's basically SaaS business, right? With the difference that we also give licensing and liquidity management and operational support. So the big thing for us was we did the first step and integrated with a Swiss-based bank regulated by FINMA. And this bank we integrated on the back end, and the customers of the bank can trade crypto through us, right? It's a big deal. It's a big deal because there are 10,000 banks and financial institutions in Europe, and we estimate that between 10 and 15% of them will need digital asset infrastructure in the next 3 years. So we are talking about thousands of financial institutions that will need our tech, right? And we not just have the tech, we run it, right? And we have licenses, and we can give all of this to all of those fintechs. And here, that was a little demo to show how the customers of this Swiss bank, Dukascopy, can access directly from their bank account, can access digital assets. It's a real breakthrough. So what I'm particularly proud about, and this is really, I think it's so beautiful. Everybody's talking about adoption of digital assets. Why people should use digital assets, who needs that, right? And how, the last mile, how to cross to the consumer. Well, I'm proud to say that we at Smart Valor implemented and now powering the biggest Bitcoin ATM network in the world. If you ask yourself, is this really Bitcoin ATM? No, not really, because it's actually the ticket machines of the national railways. So, you know those machines where you buy the ticket, right? Well, in Switzerland, we have 1,500 of those, and now they are selling Bitcoin, powered by Smart Valor. And there are thousands of transactions. We see it in our system. It's beautiful, beautiful sight to see. When I need a bit more motivation, I just sit in front of the screen and see these transactions rushing through our system. People buy Bitcoin. They buy a ticket and then they're like, oh, I heard about it, I want to try it. And they buy Bitcoin at train ticket machines. And this is kind of like, just to give an idea, you know, it's not just B2B2C business with banks and fintechs, it's also purely B2B business, like with Swiss National Railways, right? And we enable payment and transaction in digital assets. Beautiful. So what else? Well, mobile app, we launched mobile app, and it's actually a big deal because today it's mobile app, but with all the AI and ChatGPT functionality, there will be exciting developments within this application. I probably don't go too deep into details on financial. 2022 was, as I mentioned, not such a great year, but you know, with all of this, we moved the company forward, we grew our customer numbers, we implemented B2B2C partnership with a bank, we implemented the first B2B powering the network, such as with Swiss Railways, we launched the app, and all of this, imagine this, all of this, while reducing the cost by 60%. 60%. I want to tell you that it's not a pleasure cruise. It's really, really painful, right? You have to let people go. You cut on everybody works double time. People are not necessarily super happy. But this is already the third cycle, the third crypto winter for us, for management team. And we decided this time to prepare early. That's why, you know, the good thing that resulted from this, that our operating loss remained at only 2.8 million Swiss franc, which is relatively okay. Maybe more important, moving now into Q1, the transaction volume is up 60%, the revenues are up 60%, whereas the costs are still significantly down. And with growing the revenues on one side, but managing the cost as hard as it gets, we managed to end up this quarter with only 300,000 Swiss franc as operational loss. It's actually quite, you know, a surprise situation for us because our company was always positive on the operational profit level since the inception. And that's, you know, the first time we experienced times like this. But to close my presentation, here comes the good news. I personally believe that we are standing in front, or very close, in front of the golden 20s of digital assets. Not quite those golden 20s you see in the movie, right? Maybe the dancing will take place in metaverse with other dresses. But I think crypto is entering the best era of its existence. Why it's like this? To answer this question, think about, guys, what has been standing in the way of crypto development and adoption until now? What did you hear? Everybody says regulation, right? It's gray, it's not compliant, it's not regulated. Okay, so we got the job done. The pan-European regulation for European Economic Zone for 30 countries called Markets in Digital Assets, MiCA, was approved by European Parliament in April, last month. Within 12 months now, for all the governments in the European Union, this becomes a law now. And it defines digital assets as a new category, not security, not currency, but as a new category how companies can fund their operations and engage investors. It will be legal and established, right? Period. So the time of, you know, like crypto is gray, or for example, now we are Liechtenstein, Swiss company, and we cannot actively solicit and market in Germany, like this is over, right? MiCA is a big breakthrough. And DLT pilot regime. Number two, of course, banks. Oh my God, I remember we tried to list here in NASDAQ and we even wanted to become a Swedish company. It was impossible because banks don't work with crypto companies. We could not associate with Euroclear, period, end of the story. So we had to go public through around the ways as a Swiss company. So this resistance from banking sector, right, against this new technology, because it's the technology for intermediation. They all know that. This era is also coming to the close. Why? Because of the digital national currencies, CBDCs, right? Central bank digital currencies. Digital euro, digital dollar, all of this is coming. And what it means that money will be now crypto asset, like on the blockchain, right? So that means that banks and fintechs need the infrastructure to run digital money. We today have digital assets and digital exchange, and we have already digital money, stable coins, right? But now the stable coins will be issued by governments, and then banks have to do it, right? There is no way around it. So that is a big, big catalyst. It's going to change the game. Macroeconomy, inflation is good for Bitcoin. Don't need to explain this. Bitcoin is a rare digital asset with 21 million hot limit supply. And of course, the higher the inflation, the more popular Bitcoin. Well, the crypto cycle, the prices in digital assets are moved by supply of Bitcoin. I'll show you quickly this here. So basically every 4 years, the supply of Bitcoin reduces by 2, right? This is how it's programmed. It's math formula. Nobody can change it. And with this, shock to supply, reduction of supply or issuance rate, the price of the Bitcoin goes up and up and up. So every 4 years. And now we found the bottom. We're done with bottom. I don't expect that Bitcoin goes any further. We're here. And from here, we will go into another bull cycle of approximately 2-3 years. This is starting now, and it's going to be sideways, and then it's going to be up next year, March, is the next halving event. So this is something that needs to be carefully watched. So we're going into the perfect storm again. Yeah, and the last one, why golden 20s for crypto? Because finally, folks in AI space, artificial intelligence, start also to understand that they need us, right? They cannot build their stuff in Web 2, right? 2.0. They need Web 3.0 to move on and to build their stuff for consumers, right? And there is an example, has been, OpenAI company and Mr. Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, right? He created a new crypto project, right? WorldCoin, where he wants to establish identities on the blockchain, right? Why he needs that? Scanning the iris of people, right? And giving them tokens for scan, right? Because the fundamental for working AI, for contributors, for people, for proving me, like now I can stand in front of you. Believe me, in 2 years, this will be fantasy. Nobody will be in front of the people. It's all going to move into digital space, right? But then how do you tell who is real, who is not real? The fundamental layer is identity. And there is no better technology to establish the identity in an absolutely unique, uncorrupted way than blockchain. So what you're going to see is that a lot of we already see it. We delisted last week a company, AI company, right? They issue their token as a funding mechanism, right? You will see that more and more technology companies from other areas in blockchain, such as AI, robotics, and so on, will shift their instruments and go and issue digital assets, be open to global trading audience, and build on this technology. So with that, I think the future is bright, and we can definitely do it. We went a long way from a very small company and doing our first round pre-launch in 2019 at something like 20 million valuation, and then making the IPO last year here in NASDAQ on 78 million valuations. And I think this is actually even just the beginning of this story. So very excited about it. Thank you so much about your patience and attention and being here with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. You got me more interested in this field. So you succeeded with making me interested in this field.
Was it AI, right?
But I'm not surprised that you are positive to Bitcoin.
Yes.
That was not a surprise. But I wonder, is it important for you that the price is going up, or is it enough if it's high volatility, or even can you make money when it goes down?
Well, you know, unfortunately, most investors are not very rational, right? There is a research that shows that 80% of investors start to buy Bitcoin or digital assets on the very top of the market, right? Of course, you know, that's just psychology of people, right? You buy, and now I also want to buy, and so on, right? That means that in the bottom or the side where it's market, like now, the trading activity is down, right? And with that, our volumes are down, and so on, right? So it's not that great. This year is not going to be amazing, but you know, through B2B partnerships and B2B2C partnerships, we hope to keep it up.
So what is the most important thing for you to make this market more investable?
Well, I think the market will take care of itself, right? There are more and more exciting companies coming, right? We will be listing very interesting new projects and companies. And I think like this is a transition that I mentioned before. Like it starts to grow from just companies that are focused on blockchain space to other technology companies, right? From AI and other spaces. So this will broaden the spectrum of investors who are interested. And believe me, those companies, in most cases, they will not go to NASDAQ First North. This is just too much bureaucracy. It's too much work, right? They just issue a token, and they get crowdfunded. They get the community, developers, everybody, right? And now with MiCA, those tokens are also regulated, right? There are certain requirements, but the requirements are much lower than requirements for public companies. And that makes a difference.
So if we switch to your company, can you say anything about interest from banks and the financial industry? Has it increased lately, or?
Well, you know, yes and no. Within the traditional banking sphere, like, you know, private banks and more like universal banks, we see that some of them put their plans on hold because everybody was so shocked with this disastrous 2022 with frauds and scandals and the price crashing down. So everybody's like, oh my God, we'd better wait and see, right? But on the other side, on the side of fintechs, right, and trading platforms, you know, neo-brokers, neobanks, like all of this, like these guys for years have not been profitable, right? They burn money, and at some point now with down rounds and all of this, you know, bad experience, they need to make money. So even if somebody in the board still doesn't like crypto, they're moving on, right? They need to introduce new products and make money. So we see actually quite a positive development there.
You showed us the Q1 report. What about financial goals?
Financial goals. Well, we have a certain, you know, internal financial planning, but we don't publish and we don't, you know, predict revenues because it's very volatile industry. Well, in terms of like really concrete numbers, I'm afraid I cannot comment on this question.
No. So what about products then? I know that you have launched some new ones. How important are the product side for you?
Not much, you know, because like we already built custody, you know, matching engine, trading, brokerage, staking, app, like we are pretty much done, right? There is not much we can do else, right? We are now studying certain AI applications and how we can make it for investors easier to invest in crypto. That's one direction. But overall, the product is done. Now we just need to ship it, get it out, give it to the people who have a big audience, to those companies, trading companies, right? We have the product, they have millions of users. Together we can create a real wealth for companies and for investors.
Okay, so you mentioned that in Europe you're quite, there's few of your kind, is that correct? Or are there a lot of other companies that do the same?
I would say there are maybe like 3, 4, 5 companies maximum. Because there are either like really retail businesses, so they just run retail operations, right? Or there are technology companies, like custody companies. They provide custody or matching engines, so they give you tech to build the exchange, right? But there are very few players that have retail business and also do B2B in the way that they ship the white label solution with, you know, licensing and custody and tech and operational support, all of this. There are very few of us, and that will be a problem because when the market turns, right, and all of them will be like, oh my God, Bitcoin is 100,000. I want to give it to my customers. Where is the company? Yeah, but there are just 3, 4 companies in Europe, right? Like, you know, there will be a lot of bottlenecks coming up in the next couple of years.
Yes. So what about partnerships? What are your partners today? Can you tell us about that?
Well, there are a lot of partnerships on the technical side, right? And there are B2B, B2C partnerships, right? So on the technical side, it's of course custodians, you know, a lot of tools. We have over 100 integrations in our system, right? So all the bits and components like compliance on chain, right? And specific checks. So all of this has been integrated over the last 5 years. On the B2B side, we pursue, well, we have today, as I mentioned, Swiss bank, regulated banking institutions where their customers just through the banking application access digital assets at Smart Valor. And so this is example of B2B2C, so business to consumer, right, where consumer use through the bank our service. And the other example is B2B. This is, for example, the Swiss National Railways that, you know, through the partners integrated with SwePay company into our tech where their customers buy Bitcoin through us, right? So it's kind of like different. One is consumer-oriented and we interact directly with consumer, and the other one is B2B where we interact actually with, where we have a contract with B2B, with business partner, such as SwePay.
We got questions from the chat. I don't know if you can answer it, but maybe we give it a try.
Yeah.
In what way does Smart Valor Exchange help customers understand the underlying of investments? Did you understand the question?
No.
I take it again. Okay. In what way does Smart Valor Exchange help customers understand the underlying of investments?
Oh, yeah. So I think this is overall not just our weakness, but overall of our industry. You see, guys, we built amazing tools like, you know, our exchange has order book and has like 60 types of technical analysis, right? You can spend your whole weekend there, and at the end, what do you know, right? And I think this is where we as an industry need to find a way to help people, because it's complex. It's tech investments, right? It's tech companies building some protocols and some stuff, and you sit there trying to figure out if it's worth the investment. Super tough, right? If you're not developer, if you're not in financial services, it's very difficult. So this is, I think, where the golden time is coming with AI, with ChatGPT, because the difference between traditional financial system and crypto is they have data, open data, because blockchain is an open public ledger. All transactions on the blockchain, everybody can see them. Now imagine we plug there large language models, right? And draw all the data from DEXs, decentralized exchanges, blockchain. It's a wealth of information. And I think this is what's going to happen with our industry to help investors to consume the information. By the way, JP Morgan just announced several days ago, maybe you guys noticed that they're building their ChatGPT for index funds, right? So this is just the beginning. The difference with our industry, we have the data, massive data on chain. accessible, right? It's not just what bank has on what market, walled gardens, right? Blockchain is public ledger.
Okay, so for the investors, why should we invest in Smart Valor?
Well, I think I cannot recommend, in my position as a board chairman, I cannot make recommendations for financial action. For me personally, I am, founder. I put 6 years of my life sacrificing everything, my children and everything, no friendships, nothing, I just work. And I put a lot of my personal wealth, money, I invested personally in my company, right? I was the first investor, funded the first 1.5 years with my Bitcoin wealth, by the way. So why did I invest in this company? Because I know that, look, guys, I've been in financial services all my life, right? From my first job at Boston Consulting Group, advising banks. And I was always looking for technologies that is going to be like absolutely breakthrough, that will change how finance works. And as the Bitcoin came in 2013, I understood this is it. And I'm going to put the rest of my life for making a big success case out of this technology. So this is why it's really breakthrough technology for finance. If you're interested in finance, like, I don't know what you else want to invest. Like, of course, it's crypto, right? There is nothing more breakthrough and innovative. So that's number one. For us specifically, this is, for me, already second venture. I've worked before in crypto company. And this is the second company. We've been through difficult times. We proved investors that we can deliver. And I think we as a founding team so far deserved respect and trust of other investors. And the third one would be probably that it's now just a great time, right? The valuations are down. Of course, I cannot comment on prices and so on, but I think for everybody who understands what's going on, the opportunity today, the valuations where those companies are, and there are very few publicly listed. We are the only digital asset exchange in Europe on NASDAQ, right? If you understand this, that's the opportunity.
Okay, so this is an opportunity. So we will take that with us, and I will switch to Swedish now. Thanks for the presentation. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.